Good afternoon, ladies and gents. It's your girl, Lady B, Philadelphia, born and raised, which is why I am so proud and so honored to have a conversation with Commissioner Kevin Bethel. How are you?
Oh, thank you. And it's an honor to be here. Listen to you all the time. My first time to be in the station with you, and it's just an honor to see you and be
You
here.
know, Commissioner, the fact that you actually took time out of your busy day, which I know is busy, to have a conversation with us means everything to me. I am an advocate for my community. Having peace within Philadelphia is something that I pray for each and every night. And I do have friends that are on the force. And I told you this off mic when I talked to them when you first got appointed to come back by Mayor Parker. They were all ecstatic saying that your experience, 30 years plus on the force and then working within the school district, you are the perfect person to fulfill these shoes. Like you, if you had to hand pick someone, it definitely is you.
Well, I appreciate those words. It's an honor to come back. I've gotten trained by some phenomenal individuals, as Commissioner Ramsey and Commissioner Ross I work with, and I have my why. I know why I'm here, and I hope that experience and that time growing up in the city, I know the city
You
in the
do.
end, and so I'm just want to be able to do the work and do it effectively and make people, this community proud of who we are and who we are as a police department. So I just
I
thank you for
love
those
it.
words.
Can I ask you a personal question? When did you know that you wanted to protect and serve?
I came to this a different route. As a young kid, I dropped out of college and was working in Misericordia Hospital out in West Philly
Really?
and UPS in the mornings at 4 o'clock in the morning. And at one point, the police department was going through this process of bringing in, African Americans into the police department. And a flyer popped up one day, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna apply. And next thing I know, I look up and I'm in the police academy. And in 1986, I'm going into police academy, and so that for me would ultimately not come until I got in. And then one day when I walked down the street, and I would have this so much pride. Here's a kid who was washing pots and mopping floors, and next thing you know, I'm walking down the street, and people are looking at me like I'm somebody. Like I used to walk through places
Right.
when I
I
mopped
get it.
floors, and people would look down to me.
Right.
And now I walk, and people are looking up to me, and I'm like, well, this is powerful.
Okay.
And
Shoulders are back.
yeah.
Head is
And
high.
I'm a workout guy, man. I'm walking around with my tight shirts on. I'm good to go,
All right
And
now.
and then it would just trigger in me, and it would set a fire in me. And my wife is on the job. She's retired now, and so it would come. Mine would come later on, but I could think back on those, the cops who were on my block, who I respected and appreciated them, and so it's been an honorable profession for me, and it's been a great journey.
Wow. We're so lucky to have you
I
with all
appreciate
that
you. Thank you.
experience, I swear. Community partnership, let's talk about it. You've implemented a new initiative assigning Deputy Commissioner Maisha Massey to be in charge of. What's that about?
Yeah, I coming back to the department, being away for 7 years, I really wanted to kind of reset. And we talk about community relations, but it's really about partnerships. Like it's about sitting down and building partnerships, connectivity, and not just walking by you, hey, how you doing, and keep moving. And not our community relations team has done a great job. So part of it is just the titling to make it more informed, and then identify Commissioner Massey, someone who was in her district who just got it. My first experience with Commissioner Massey was as a school chief of school safety, and I'm not even on the police department.
Right.
Her responsiveness, her willing to partner with me, her willing to hear the things that I need to do, and then watching her. So when I had the opportunity and talked to the mayor about creating this position, and she knew of Commissioner Massey as well, and she's like,
Right.
Kevin, that is an absolute great selection. And so,
Yeah.
we really want to be focused on that work and really building it out even more.
We all know in the city of Philadelphia, youth violence. Let's speak to it because you did spend all that time in the school district. How do you think we're going to get these kids to learn how to de-escalate the argument and not pull a gun?
Yeah, first, I think we have to. First, we really have to make sure people understand that juvenile violence only accounts for like 10% of all the violence we see across the city. 10%. So the other 90% is 18 and older. It gets a lot of attention. So
It
oftentimes
does.
I want to give those individuals out there working with young people credit.
Right.
Like we know that schools matter,
Right.
teachers matter, counselors matter, coaches matter, and I go down the list of all those individuals out there in your community today who are working with young people. It matters, and I think we have to continue to do that work, and at the same time really focus our young people on de-escalation, and on how to manage. We used to learn that from sports.
We did.
Yeah, I mean, and that's how
Right.
I learned it.
Yep.
But you earlier when we were off mic talking about social media, many of our young people go to other outlets now, and they're not getting those learnings. We can't make those assumptions that our young people are being taught the mechanics of how to stand down and de-escalate, and we now have to be much more intentional about exposing them to that environment because they just don't know oftentimes. They just see what they see and they respond that way. We know through adolescent development how their brains are developed. We just got to do a better job of really focusing on that.
And another thing I like to do when I'm on the radio is to bring attention to those kids who are doing great work,
Absolutely.
as opposed to, it does bother me. Every day I hear teenager and shooting in the same sentence. It saddens me. I asked you off, Mike, how are these children getting their hands on these guns? And you gave me an answer I never even considered about the COVID crisis and how that brought about more guns. Can you explain that to my listeners?
Yeah, I think oftentimes it gets missed. During that COVID period when a lot of money hit into the street, the street has a draw to it. As always, there's always been this negative part of the street, and they saw an opportunity that young people with a lot of money, well, we have guns, and so often, a lot of those young people who could not gotten access to a gun, were able to get a gun, and because they have now the funds to do that. And so, so that's why you start to look up and like, what is going on here? Why, my officers making last year, there's about 6,000, a little over 6,000 guns that were recovered, 2,500 during crimes. And you start to see young people, well, how's this young person get a $1,500 gun? Like, and so, yeah.
In this day and time.
In this day and time. And so, they used to have to borrow, they loaned the guns amongst the group.
Right.
And so, but I would say that the majority, as you started to allude to, the majority of our young people do everything they're supposed to do on a daily basis, and we cannot let some of the kids who unfortunately get off track kind of represent, because we oftentimes pigeonhole particularly our young boys of color, as if they're all out here, and in fact, that's just not the case.
You talking about pigeonholing. I also asked you off mic, excuse me, about social media and the way we see officers via social media. There's not enough positive information about those who protect and serve. How can we change that?
Well, what we do is we hire Carla Shoel as my executive director of communication. I identified Carla as someone phenomenal. She was working at SEPTA previously to come in to help brand us. I mean, one of the things we have to do is identify what our brand is. And part of her work will be to start to really show some of the more positive things we do in the community, so that folks can see a different perspective. As I shared with you, so much stuff gets hits on social media is the negative. So the officer
we never talk about the good stuff.
Yeah,
on
he could do
social
99
media.
things, and the one thing that's done wrong by the police officer is what's going to get highlighted. And so we have to start to tell our own story to get that out into the universe, so people can see what the majority of my men and women do every day is serve and try to do a good job.
And how do we build the morale of officers in 2024?
You know what? First and foremost, the opportunity to sit here with you and tell them how much I love them.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
And how much I appreciate them, and how much I appreciate the resiliences over the period of time. And I think it's going to take time to get that message out to them, because they've been down for quite some time. I think when the mayor comes in, the mayor has talked about policing more in the first 6 months than I've heard in quite some time.
I love her for that.
And if you don't, and my men and women hear that,
right?
They know that, and her actions have also demonstrated that. And so we have some work to do, but they're coming around, and as we continue to go down this path, I think we're headed in the right direction.
We talk about our mayor. I love her so much. She's getting so much done in such a short period of time. She calls you the best police commissioner in the country. And she gives you huge accolades for the 100-day report. Explain.
Well, first of all, I tell people, I appreciate that. Because part of what she does is aspirational too, right? And elevating me into that position and talk like that is just it's so heartwarming to hear, a leader who believes in you, and I believe in her as well. But part of my responsibility coming in the door is about getting the work done, and the mayor put forth her task of her previous safety plan, and now I create the 100-day plan, really keying off of the emergency orders that she put forth. And so this gave us the early structure of really able to lean into the core things. Kensington, work in there, working with our quality of life, our retail theft, our ATVs, all those things that someone who's been seeped in the community, as you know, care most about, because she recognized that those are the things that are making people feel like there's this lawlessness out here. You can just do whatever you want. And it was those small things that you were
Right.
looking out and saying, you don't do that anymore. And so we're really starting to lean forward into that space. It'll again take time. We're increasing our staffing to help us do that, getting back to community policing and getting officers out in the foot beat. So this is the first start of we'll follow up with a strategic plan, a 5-year strategic plan, because we're getting to work on that now, so we can guide ourselves over the next 5 years, and so we can make sure we're headed in the right direction.
I think the fact that you guys get along and have so much respect for one another is so important. I've been raised in Philadelphia my whole life, lived here, and certain times I felt like there was a sense of combativeness when it came to the mayor and the commissioners. So I love the fact that you guys seem like partners. And let's talk about Kensington. As a Philadelphian, if someone told me I had to go to Kensington for some reason, I would deny the offer. I didn't even want to go. It saddened me to see an open drug market right here in our city. For years and years and years, I wondered, how is this possible? Why aren't we doing anything about Kensington? So can you reassure Kensington residents and people like me who are afraid to even visit the neighborhood, what are we doing and what's going to be effective?
Yeah, we even started our process in 5-phase approach. The first was kind of announcing that we're coming. We're now moved into our second phase, our enforcement. We added additional 75 officers down into the Kensington corridor. It's going to take time, but to your point, it's unacceptable. The conditions down there, it's unacceptable that children and families have to live in so much trauma and have to deal with the conditions down there. And so, but as I also caution, this started in 2017, and so we won't change this in a month.
Right.
It's going to take
gonna
time. We're
take
going to
some
be in there.
time,
So I want the
right.
community to know we're in for the long haul. We're going to be there. We're going to change Kensington. We're going to make it better for that community. It is my charge from the mayor, who said that from the day I met her before I even applied.
Right.
And Kevin, what do give me a plan, right? And I didn't have it all fleshed
Right.
out at the time, and glad to have the opportunity to come on board to execute it. But we're going to head in the right direction. We ask for some patience as we go through this process. We do believe in addiction services, so that'll always be part of the mantra that we will. But we are going to enforce the laws, and we are going to get order back to a place that has been in disorder for quite some time.
Another question when it comes to Kensington, what are we going to do about the homeless?
Yeah, I think the mayor has put forth a plan, working with the managing director, Adam Teal, to create these wellness centers. I don't think people understand the magnitude of that, because all too often we've been in these silos. You take someone homeless, but they may have mental health issues and addiction issues. So I think
Right.
so creating this comprehensive center where you can treat all of those maladies can be, I believe, for the first time, an effective strategy. And there's a reason why we're here, because it's never been connected. If you go to take someone for addiction, many of the individuals down in Kensington have mental health disorders.
Sure.
So they're like, well, I can't deal with the addiction until you deal with the mental health issues. So I think that's going to be an opportunity for us for the first time, not just for Kensington, but for the homeless issue citywide, because many of the individuals we see down even in Center City and other parts of the city have those same scenarios as well. They may be addiction or alcoholism or others. So having a comprehensive center, I think, is for the first time set us on the course to really treat people where they are. And because at the back end, you want to get them through and then get them back to a place where they can live and sustain their lives on their own. So
Yeah, we just can't expect to just,
well, we keep just turning, pushing them around. Right?
Right.
We keep just moving individuals
it's an
around.
ongoing cycle.
It is,
Right.
and you have to invest in that. I think the investment that the mayor did in this recent budget was a demonstration to the community at large that she takes this matter seriously, and that she wants to do something about it and not just talk about it.
Okay, there are 5 phases in your plan as commissioner. Phase 1 was notification. Phase 2, enforcement. Do you believe that increasing the foot patrols in our neighborhoods is going to help?
So 2 parts. I mean, for the foot patrols in Kensington, part of the enforcement is you can't walk and be openly putting needles in your arm and believe that that's okay.
Right.
You can't engage in other illegal behavior, totally obstructing the highway and those types of offenses, going into stores and stealing and believe that's okay. So I would but talking out, but as it relates to our community beats and being in that area and other areas, it really is aligning with the mayor's goal of us being much more community oriented. To know the community, you got to get down and feel the pulse.
You
You
do.
cannot drive by in a car,
You do.
and drive. You have to get down because Miss Johnson may never ever come up and talk to you because she's fearful that the police say something, but she'll drop a note on the
Right.
ground
Mm-hmm.
and look over you and say, "Look, pick that note up," because I've been
Right.
there. I'm telling you a story that I know for a fact.
Right.
And the officer picks up the note and she just gives him so many accolades. I can't talk to you because you're not here every day. But
Right.
don't you believe that I don't appreciate you being out here every day, walking this beat? And those are the kind of things that make sure we have empathy. You know what I mean? And we really
It
understand.
humanizes you.
It does, because you can't see that. You know what I mean? You
Right.
can't see it. You can't taste it and touch it unless you get out and believe in it and see people and look them in their eyes and they tell you, "I appreciate you."
I miss the days of good afternoon, officer so and so. How are you doing today? Can I offer you some water? How are you feeling? We need those type of relationships back in the city of Philadelphia. As I told you before I started this, the majority of my listeners are adults. I'm a classic radio station, and far too often I hear women, especially, afraid to sit on their front step, afraid to go to the grocery store, getting all their errands run and over with before the sun goes down. I often say on the radio that our generation is losing the respect from our children. I constantly say to my listeners to please go look under the beds, look in the back of the closets, check their book bags before they're leaving for school. Get these guns out of your house. How do you feel about that? What's your opinion on that?
I think that's a absolute positive message. I mean, I think if we're not intentional about, I think our kids are under so much pressure, getting hit from so many different entities. Hey, to be part of something, you got to do this. Be a part of something, you got to do it. They look on TV, they see drill rap, and they see other things that are giving heightened, having what it's like to have a gun, what it's like to shoot a gun. And so we have to be the ones that pull them and pull them back. We have to be the ones that intercede. Because listen, and I tell them, don't stay up top at the house. Check the backyard, check the front yard, because many of them will put them, because they know mom's checking the house. So
Because I often refer to these kids as cereal gangsters, because you're in your mother's house eating the cereal in the morning that you didn't pay for, and then you're gonna run out the house and shoot somebody. Like, what in the hell is that about?
Yeah, but I mean, but you gotta see, we've allowed. I mean, right now, in particular, you heard me say drill rap. Where you go online and you see this thing, right? This thing that these young people want to be a part of, and if we're not filling that gap, I played sports. For me, was my mother got me in sports, and so that's what was the outlet for me. Many of our young kids are not playing sports today,
Right.
and so you have to find other. But we do know one positive adult in a child's life can totally change the trajectory of where they go.
Oh, I've seen stories over and over again. And one of my favorite stories is a young kid who was initiated into a gang, and he knew everything about cars from growing up with his grandfather. He had been to the Youth Study Center numerous times for stealing cars. And he went to one event where there was someone there from NASCAR who took an interest in this young man. And next thing you know, he's working in the pits at NASCAR.
It's amazing, absolutely amazing.
So you can't tell me that you can't touch an individual and change their entire life. Let's talk about the police force. Now that you have all these great ideas and you have a great mayor who's in your corner and you're making all these great decisions to change the violence, we have one of the most diverse class of officers since 2018 graduating from the police academy. What do you attribute that to?
I think first I give a lot of credit to my recruitment team and my background team and our city OHR really creating a system to make sure we're getting individuals through. I also believe, and most recently, I was talking to the team, we're getting some of our highest applications from some of our most challenging communities, particularly communities of color, because I think they're hearing something different now. They're hearing the mayor talk about how positive is the police department. I'm out there, and I appreciate you allowing me to be on your show, because I want them to hear my enthusiasm.
Right.
I'm 60 years old. I've been at the 38 years, and I feel like a kid just like yesterday when I go out in the field. And so I think that kind of activity is drawing our young people from those communities again. I mean,
Awesome.
and bringing them back into wanting to be a part of something. And so I'm just excited about the direction. We still have a lot of work to do with our diversity.
Sure.
We still, both women, not just kids of color, but women as well. But the team has been very intentional about going out into those areas, being very intentional about our selling points. Start $61,000.
Right.
Hey, that's not bad.
That's not bad.
66,000 after
Right.
6 months, 90,000 after 5 years.
In this day and age,
In this
yes.
days and age, listen, I told people I made $24,000 when I came on the job. So you know what I mean, and so we think it's just really, really a lot of the messaging and a lot of the tone, it matters. We definitely know tone matters, and we definitely know now that we're talking in such a positive way, we can see people want to be a part of something. Combine that with our recruitment team that's done a phenomenal job of setting it up. We changed some rules around how we come in. They don't have to do the full physical fitness. They have to test out, which is great. Made some adjustment with our reading tests. Now we're getting kids through our reading tests at 70%. That's phenomenal. So that's getting us a lot more minority candidates as well. And so we're definitely we got to do better. We got to do more.
We do.
But we're definitely headed in the right direction.
Diversity is so important. I think when young people of color see someone who looks like them, there's something there. There's some kind of magic that takes place. And you said something at the beginning of the interview, and I think that's something we should stress for those young adults who are thinking about joining the force, is the sense of pride that you had when you became a police officer. I think that's so, so important. Protecting and serving. What better way to spend your life?
It is, and people, and we give our life for that, right?
That
and
part.
and I think
Part.
yeah, and I think people so focus on the negatives, but we got men and women out there who they just do such phenomenal stuff with our young people. They do such phenomenal stuff with our community. We don't recruit for the warrior anymore.
Right.
I said we recruit for the guardian. I can
Here you
teach
go.
you to be a warrior.
Right.
What we need is folks who want to be the guardian of our community.
Mm-hmm.
I'll teach you you'll shoot when you have to, but 99.9% of my men and women will never fire their weapon in their entire service of the police department other than going up to the range. Right? But
Right.
we for years have looked for that person who was that hard but today that we'll take that person. Don't get me wrong, I ain't turning anybody away.
Right.
But we also need folks who want to come in and be that guardian. How do you go
Or
in?
compassionate.
Yeah. You can have the empathy and the passion. And it's a challenge in policing because we sometimes shut that off because of our trauma, but we need to make sure we stay rooted in our baseline of being empathetic to our community.
That's so important. And we also talked about the social media and the negative tone that it will portray when it comes to officers. I think it would be so helpful if we would change that narrative and start showing the positive work of the force and all of the good that it brings. And you're right, there's always going to be one bad apple. No one's perfect. And I have run across officers who were total a-holes and just took that badge as a reason that they could talk to me any way they
Well,
felt
after we
like.
leave this show, you're going to call me. I'm going to give you my number. Anybody?
Well, no, I had a run-in with an officer once on South Street. And, everyone was complaining, oh, you should get him fired or whatever. I'm like, I don't know what this gentleman's issue was, but I did have a conversation with his captain.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want him fired. I wanted to know why he approached me the way that he did, and I found that other listeners had the same or similar problem with this one officer, and his captain addressed it, and that made me feel good, and it made me, because, if you have that kind of run-in with an officer and then you turn around, you can't throw all the apples in one barrel and say that all police officers are bad because of that one encounter that you had. So I think internally, you dealing with, your staff, per se, and making sure that they have the mental stability and the desire to protect and serve and take those words to heart and do that and not just, want to bully someone. Because I believe, honestly, I will say it to your face, that I feel like a lot of people join the force because they have that bully mentality. And I just don't think that's fruitful or will help our community in any way. But if you guys work with them and work with their mental stability and work with their training and instill that pride that I believe you have and the officers that are here with you today have, then all for the better for all of us to get along and as a community, as one, as the mayor would say, as one
One Philly.
Philly.
That's right.
Right. So lastly, you have the support of the mayor, the FBI, the ATF, the DEA, and the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office. That's been really helpful and necessary. So how critical is it to have that type of collaboration in law enforcement?
I think it's just it's so critical. So much of the work that we need to do, and oftentimes, particularly in some of these more complex investigations, the tools that ATF and particularly FBI and others can provide really gives us the ability to really enhance our work. I think back the tragic shooting we had up in Northeast, where we had the kids shot at the bus stop, and our ATF partners and our FBI partners and others were really be instrumental in helping us track and do the things that sometimes technologically wise we don't have the capacity to. We're building that internally now, but just those relationships, because I think folks think that and the mayor has set that tone very early in the process. Her expectation is us to be partners. She talks about her intergovernmental approach, but most importantly, making sure that we're working across our partners to make sure that we're doing the best for the city to be able to address the crimes and the issues we have. So they've been great partners, and we continue to build upon that partnership. I've been at it for quite some time, but this is one of the first times I can tell you that we really are in sync. And I think a lot of that
You really feel it.
I feel it. I talk to my colleagues and my partnerships across the different, even outside the city with counties. The mayor had us meet with all of the police chiefs across the counties. And she was in the room telling them.
That's important.
Yeah, because we, Ben Salem and Cheltenham and our, our Delaware County partners, and even here in Lower Merion and other places, what just cause of stepping across the street doesn't sometimes change
Exactly.
the issue. And so she was very intentional about us meeting with them, not in front of no TVs and media not there.
Right.
I hope I'm not getting in trouble by letting you know, but I know I'm not. But saying, hey, we got to be intentional about how we work together. And so I think that energy and that focus is making sure that we do the job effectively for the community we serve.
I love it. So if someone wants to be an officer, if they want to protect and serve and be of service and make a difference in their community, they should log on to joinphillypd.com.
Oh, she already has it. Okay, because I can never remember. I don't know why I can't remember joinphilly.com. And I'm over like, yeah, but that's important. If they go to that website, they'll see a lot. It's very robust. It'll outline all of the whys they should come on, the benefits of what they can do. It'll really outline it. And we're still in our application process. Is still open until I think the 24th, or I forget the date, but it closed up. It's closed now. Okay. Coming back in August. So we're coming back around in August, and tell them, take a look. Talk to folks, talk to people, listen to my words. I want you. I need you.
I hear you.
And we can make this a better city together.
Something I always say to people is to lead by example. You do a great job of that, sir.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate
No,
that.
I really, really mean it. Yeah, you do. You do. I think you're a perfect fit for this job. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with my listeners? And remember, my listeners are the adults.
I have a line. I always say it. The time is always right to do what is right.
I like
It's
that.
Martin Luther King. It's something I live by. And so when they're thinking through, just know that time is always right to do what is right. And my mother, who raised 4 boys by herself, and on this journey, it just encapsulates who she made us as her 4 boys and what her expectations enough are. And I would just also and I also just be patient for particularly your older community and folks have been out there. I know they've been frustrated. I know they've seen a lot over the last 3 years. I'm hoping
We
that
have. It's
I'm
a
hoping that we
scary
can turn
time.
things around and make them feel like I want them to come out on their steps again.
Yeah.
That is the mayor's goal. That is our goal as a city and a city cabinet and our charge as a city. I want them to come sit on their steps again, and that's going to take a community effort, partnerships, not just the police department, all of us, to get to that place. Because I have that mother-in-law who won't come sit on her step, and she's owned her house for 40-plus years.
It's not fair.
And she moves with military precision because she can't sit on a step. How do we allow our communities to be this way? And it's not just a policing issue. It's a humanity issue. It's a community issue. It's all of our issues. We got to get to that place.
We do. I often tell my listeners, we have to go back to the old days where my mom was respected in the household. I find far too often that we actually have grandparents who are fearful of their grandchildren. That's a shame.
It is so much a shame, and we got to do better,
We do.
and we do.
And I think with the help of the police department and people like you who genuinely care about our well-being, that we can get back to that time. There's strength in numbers.
There is absolutely strength. I do want to say thank you.
Oh,
I mean,
no,
it means a
thank
lot.
you.
No, but it means a lot for you to give me the opportunity to spend this time on your show. I mean, first, it made me extremely comfortable, which I
good.
appreciated, but most importantly, just to be able to talk to your audience and have a conversation is critical to our work. This is probably more critical than anything, to be able to give voice to the men and women that serve under me and I serve for and with, and this mayor. So just want to say thank you.
44 years I've been on the radio, and I've never interviewed a commissioner.
Well, listen, we got to take
Thank
a
you,
picture,
sir.
and we're going to do this
Thank
right.
you,
Thank you
sir.
so much. I appreciate you.
You don't know
Thank-
what that means to me. It really does. I speak about what's going on in our community every day. I'm more concerned about that than the music that I play. So yes, it is truly a pleasure to have you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Godspeed to you and the force.
I'm blessed. Thank
Right.
you. Yep.
Kevin Bethel, our esteemed commissioner at the radio station. That says something positive. Thanks for tuning in. Wow. Amazing.
Thank you so much.